This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network. TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Hello, welcome to this edition of Red Side of the Trent, here to talk about the potential signing or the incoming signing of James McAtee. Joining me from the City Ramble is Matt Kerr. Matt, how are you first of all? You well?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No.
Just looking forward to the season start now, probably the same as you.
Yeah. I'm buzzing obviously after the news that Forest are in Europa League. So this has now come. This came through maybe 5-10 minutes after it got announced through Fabrizio Romano. Reported £20 million for James McAtee, rising up to 30. But just before we get into that, I just wanted to ask how's the summer going for yourselves and City? Obviously, very very busy with the Club World Cup. You made 3 signings very very early on in Ryan Cherky, Ait-Nouri, and Tijani Reinders. I mean, have they settled in pretty well? Any more business that City might do?
Yeah, I mean, the early sign's been pretty good. Can't forget Marcus Bettinelli as well. Big signing in the goalkeeping department. Obviously, we got James Trafford in a couple of weeks ago as well.
Of course, yes.
There's just been a real fresh turnover, younger players. You got Cherky, very hungry. You got Trafford, very hungry. And then we've brought in the likes of Reinders, who, he won Serie A midfielder of the year last year. So, a guy that can come in and make an instant impact. And we've seen that already in pre-season. He's come in, got a few goals, and Ait-Nouri as well. He's our first left back in probably about 6 seasons, so it's going to be great to see. And not a centre half play there, I mean, Vardiol and Ake have done great over the years, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Ait-Nouri bombing down that wing and whipping in some crosses for Haaland.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone in my FPL team, Ait-Nouri, so
Yeah,
I'm hoping he'll do pretty well. To be fair, he was good for Wolves last season from left wing back. So let's talk about James McAtee. It was reported that Forest had a £25 million rejected. So when this come out the other day that you've accepted 20 million, but then it came out that it might rise up to 30. I mean, I was quite shocked at that, and we're unaware if there is a buyback or a sell on, which I presume there will be, because Man City are very stubborn on this sort of thing. How do you see this sort of deal being perceived by Manchester City fans?
Yeah, I think the general consensus has been that the fee feels quite low, 20 million. Don't get me wrong, there were talks, back when he was linked to Frankfurt and Dortmund earlier in the window, there was talks that City were hoping for a fee a bit more similar to the Palmer deal to Chelsea, which would have been, I think, 42 million or something. Don't get me wrong, a player in his last year of his contract, I think that is a bit silly to ask for that much. But, when he did play last season, he showed his quality, and he truly is a very talented young footballer. So I do think 20 million feels it's a very good deal for you guys. Let's just say that. A very good deal for you guys. But the general consensus is it feels right for him to move on, get more minutes, because he's just not going to get that at City.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that you've brought in an influx of younger players. Does he not fit into that mold of playing younger players then? I find it very strange that you praise your recruitment team for doing that, but then you're losing a lad from your academy who I feel like you can get behind, similar to Phil Foden. I find it a bit strange in those comments in a sense.
No, yeah, I mean, I completely agree, but it's what City have been so good at doing the last few years, bringing through very talented footballers. And sadly, for the players themselves, they want to be playing, and for the coaching staff, I imagine, and Pep, if they're not quite up to speed, then let's get some money for them and get in someone else who we think probably will make that impact. For me, McAtee, like I said, very talented footballer, made a decent impact last season. When we had our really, really bad times, like, he was there and he did pick up a few goals. But he is low down in the pecking order. I do think a big thing with McAtee, what doesn't help with him, is Oscar Bob being back from injury. rewind a year, Oscar Bob was absolutely electric in pre-season. You've probably seen that City fans are absolutely in love with this guy, and he's only made a couple of first team appearances. Like it's bizarre. So you've got him. He's now back. If he was fit last season, would McAtee have been moved on last summer? Possibly, quite possible, because they're the minutes that he had. Savinho, I mean, he's a bit up in the air now as well. That's another story. But he's there on that right hand side, So there's that, and that's predominantly where he's been played. Sorry, McAtee, he's predominantly playing on that right hand side. But I think for you guys, I imagine he'd probably be a bit more of a backup to Morgan Gibbs-White. I would imagine. I don't know what you think.
Potentially. I mean, just to inform listeners, so McAtee is a 22-year-old midfielder or right winger. He was captain for the England '21s with Elliot Anderson winning that tournament. And him, Elliot Anderson, and Harvey Elliott were the three key players I thought for England in that tournament. I don't know how much you watched of it, Matt, but I thought they were brilliant. The three of them interchanging and linking up really, really well. I like McAtee because he's tidy. He keeps the ball, and it's something that we maybe need to improve on this season, because everyone harped on about how much possession we had, but how annoying it was that we kept beating teams, including yourselves at home, where it was a cracking atmosphere that day. I mean, where do you see his best position? Because I personally think he can be a backup to Morgan Gibbs-White, which is great because we're going to have so many more games. I also think he can do a role on the left side of central midfield as well if we do adopt a 4-3-3, and then also as a backup right winger in that aspect, because he is quite flexible, McAtee, and I quite like that about him.
Yeah, I mean that's a massive strength of his. He's not nailed down to one position. I do think on the right-hand side, he is quite limited. He's not the quickest player. He's very agile. He's got a great eye for a pass. I'd probably pair him similar to like a Bernardo Silva on the right-hand side. He's not the quickest player, but he can do a very good job there on his day type of thing. But I think you've got it nail on the head. I think he's a number 10 stroke number 8, really. I imagine to begin with, he's going to be your backup to Gibbs-White. That's where I see where he's going to be, and then maybe fill in the gaps there and around. If you, like you say, if you move into a 4-3-3, maybe that's where he gets his spot. But like you touched on, you've got a very technically gifted, very composed footballer, and he's just fun to watch. He's very forward thinking, and I think honestly, you guys are I really think you're absolutely gonna love him.
What would you say his other strengths are other than those that you've just mentioned? Has he got anything in his locker? I've seen he scored a free kick for England, and I mean that excites me because I don't think Forest have seen a direct free kick scored for about 5 years. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, to be fair, you know what? I was quite surprised when I saw him score that goal as well. In fairness, I didn't know he had that in his locker. But this has been his first season in senior football for City, and he hasn't had. I think he had 27 appearances across all competitions, barely any starts. He's got 7 goals in that as well. So pretty decent output if you think about how limited his minutes have been. What his strengths are. He's very hardworking, which I know for a lot of people that should be the basis of a player. But for an attacking player, he's always tracking back. He's always getting stuck into tackles. He's not afraid to do that at all. And like I said, eye for a pass. He's absolutely fantastic when it comes to that. It's just I've always really liked McAtee. I've always really wanted him to do well. You'll be the same with your homegrown players, the ones that he is a City fan. The ones that come through. They care about the badge that little bit more. You want them to do well, and sadly, like I say, it seems that he's not that high in the pecking order. So, you guys are going to get him, and that's completely fair enough. But yeah, he's a fantastic player. Like I say, and we touched on his versatility. It's a huge strength. When he was in the academy setup, he even played as a false 9 quite frequently. I know that's not really a system you guys use, but that's another skill set he's got. He can play even that high up the pitch. So yeah, you've got a fantastic footballer.
Yeah, I mean, I liken it to a little bit of Anderson coming to his last season from Newcastle, where you just know he's not going to get the minutes where he would like. I mean, you've obviously mentioned Cole Palmer and him leaving for that fee to Chelsea. I mean, I've seen a lot of City fans saying this is just as big a mistake. Do you see that as well at all, Matt? Because Cole Palmer is a big kind of comparison there, because you look at what Cole Palmer's done at Chelsea and he's absolutely flourished massively there. But I never would have expected Cole Palmer to be honest, to go to Chelsea and do that. In all honesty, because I've never really seen him play too much, so it was a big shock. I mean, what do you think about McAtee doing that? Because obviously he's had a loan spell at least at Sheffield United and played in the Premier League regular for Sheffield United, although they were absolutely abysmal. But he still got that experience over Cole Palmer before he made that move.
Sure, yeah. I mean, if you put them both alongside each other when they were at City, you'd probably say, based on the fact that McAtee's got 7 goals in his debut season, you'd probably say he's going to go on to do better things. I never did I ever think that Cole Palmer would leave City for Chelsea and do what he's done. I think that's the case for everyone across the footballing world, not just City fans. But now, since that obviously that happened, that 42.5 million or whatever we got for him, now looks a very bad deal. At the time, I thought, wow, we've got 42 million for Cole Palmer. That's brilliant. My concern would be with McAtee and Delap and that them likes who we were selling on, that one day they're going to come back to bite us. In Palmer's first season against Chelsea, he scored an equalising penalty right at the end of the game at Stamford Bridge, and for the Chelsea fans, that's a great moment. They're absolutely loving it, and he kind of celebrated, kind of didn't. And they're the moments you don't want to see. You don't want to see one of your ex-players hurt you. Do I think McAtee could do that? Yeah, I do. I really do think I wouldn't say maybe Cole Palmer levels, but I definitely think he can become a very, very, very good Premier League footballer. It's just a shame at the minute there's not really a space for him in our squad. And you touched on it at the beginning, a buyback clause. I think that's got to be a must. Another lesson we need to learn from the Cole Palmer one, which we have done. I think the Delap deal, even we had an option. We didn't take up, obviously. James Trafford, which we're taking up, and I think that's a decent bit of business. Hopefully that'll long term he'll do really well. So I personally, and I'm sure the club will, we've got to have some sort of buyback clause, because I really do think he's got a very, very high ceiling.
You do know who you're dealing with, though, don't you? Marinakis is
Mr. Marinakis.
He'd beat up Sheikh Mansour. I'm not going to lie. He'd get him in a headlock and go, no buyback, and he'd go, okay, yeah. So I mean, but Joe, if it does come out, I mean, obviously we're recording this podcast preempting that McAtee is going to sign, because Fabrizio is doing his eye emojis and all that sort of stuff. If there is no buyback, Amos Murphy from the City Ramble, who is a good friend of ours, said he will volcanically erupt. Yes. Would you be there with him on that?
Yes, I think I will be erupting as well. Just because we've seen what Cole Palmer's done. I hate to keep going back to that, but we've seen what Cole Palmer's done. He's exploded in his first season at Chelsea. He absolutely exploded into one of the best players in the Premier League. I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility that McAtee could do that. I really don't, because he really is that good a footballer. It pains me to say, because like I said before, he's a homegrown Blue. He knows what it means to wear the shirt, and I do think long term he's definitely going to be an England senior player. We've seen what he's done in the Euros already, but yeah, to join Amos, I will be fuming if we don't have some sort of buyback clause. Don't get me wrong, I suspect, like I say, we're dealing with Mr. Marinakis here, so it will be probably quite a high one. But at least if we have the long-term option to bring him back to the club at some point, I think that'd be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how do you see his impact going? This is the last sort of question I've got. I mean, I would like to know what his impact's going to be like, because obviously, like I've mentioned, Forest aren't a possession-based sort of side. Do you see him joining us, evolving Forest in that sense? And do you see it as a good club to come and join and a good fit at all?
Yeah, I think it's a good club for him to go to. Like you said before, you've got a track record of bringing in these talented English stars and evolving them into Premier League quality. Really, you got Elliot Anderson, who he only played a little bit for Newcastle. Really showed glimpses. You could argue Morgan Gibbs-White as well. Obviously, he did really well in the Championship, but when he was at Wolves, he kind of just played the odd minute here and there, didn't he? So you've got that track record, and he's probably seen that, and he's going, yeah, there's a platform there for me. With sorry, what was the question? Sorry,
I just wanted to know if you think he will stylistically evolve Forest, basically, because he's that different type of player. He's come from a Pep side, you know what I mean? Yeah. He's going to know how to keep the ball a little bit better.
Sure, yeah, my bad. Yeah, so definitely, I think he played both ways. One moment last season that comes to mind, it was a very counter-attacking move from him, which I know would suit you guys to a T. It was against, I think, Leicester at their ground, and he's taken the ball at the halfway line, and he's done this incredible like 2-touch movement. You're gonna have to search it up on Twitter. City fans are going mental after it, because that was kind of like his first proper appearance of the season. And then after that, everyone was going, "We've got to get McAtee on, we've got to get him starting," and all that kind of stuff. But it just showed, like, he doesn't need to be playing that side to side tiki taka type of style. He's got that in his locker to get the ball and go, right, I'm dragging this team forward up the pitch. So I definitely think he's going to suit you in terms of the way you currently play. If you're saying you're going to start evolving into this 4-3-3 type of thing, then listen, this guy's grown up on that type of football. The academy setup at City, they get him playing out from the back from the age of 7, 8 or something ridiculous. So he knows what he's doing, and I think if you are transitioning into that style, wow, yeah, you couldn't have got a better player really for it, honestly.
No, I really appreciate that. I think it's a glowing review from you. I mean, if it's 20 million rising up to 30 no buyback, it's an A+, I think, from all of us at Forest.
Definitely. I mean, like I say, I'll be fuming if there's no buyback option. But I think, even if you do have one and it's a 20 million odd deal, I mean, wow. Like, normally when there's transfers for an English player, there's always like that little English tax that makes it, he should be a 40 million, 50 million pound player, but because of his contract length, we haven't really got a leg to stand on.
Yeah, I think at best for us it'll be a sell on, and like maybe a slightly hefty one, similar to what we did with Callum Hudson-Odoi, where we got him for 3 million. And it's supposedly like a 50% for Chelsea, which is ridiculous. It's also ridiculous, to be honest. So no, I'm hoping for the best, because I don't want to buy back. I'd like to keep him for a substantial amount of time. Otherwise, it's a glorified loan to me. So, and we're sure. Long done with those. But Matt, thank you very much. What can people expect on the City Ramble coming up if people want to check you out?
Yeah, just as the season starts, we're going to be ramping up the YouTube channel. Amos has been doing some great work on that over the summer, and the weekly podcasts. We're going to have about 5 a week. Starting from the beginning of the season. So yeah, stay tuned for plenty of good City stuff.
Bro, no, thank you very much. And if you've enjoyed the pod, drop us a like, drop us a subscribe. Do consider membership for future early access podcasts. Until next time, come on, you Reds.